Yeah, but I get why you do it for Anthony Davis. It just taints it that much more if you all of a sudden ship somebody out and you bring in KD. Like, I get it. You got to swing for the fences.
Why though?
You're
Why do you think that taints it? What's the connection there for
Because
you?
then it just feels like you're buying a championship to me. That's what I mean, the even the Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, it hadn't been done before kind of a thing. But
Yeah.
honestly, dude, that would feel like remember when we were growing up and the Yankees could get whatever they wanted, right? And we were just always so miserable. And I get it. There's a salary cap and Danny's playing on the same,
Yeah.
Patriots have worked it. But the Patriots have all these guys that come in that are undrafted and they're all these like weird risers that fit roles, and it's just so much easier to get behind that dominance in the salary cap era. And I
Mhm.
get it. Danny totally played the game the right way. He stockpiled picks after booting on, taking a punt on Pierce and Garnett, and we all swallowed that bitter pill to some degree, right? Because it was the right move.
Mhm.
Because the exorbitant amount of resources was going to give us the opportunity for Danny to recollect it and refashion a very similar type of roster. And I get all that, but then we got this young crew, and we're not talking about the Delonte West, Rajon Rondo, Kendrick Perkins, Al Jefferson crew. We're talking about a crew of some pretty dang talented players. Like I would put Terry Rozier above Delonte West 6 ways till Sunday. I'd put Tatum and Brown above Perkins and Jefferson, and you can throw Rondo in there and say whatever you want about Rondo, but outside of that, I mean, I feel like the young talent on this team, they're fun to watch. It's a lot to give up on. And there's something about Durant just going to Golden State and spurning us instead of like saying, okay, you know what? Boston's on this track. They're going to be able to surround me with better players. Oh, Tom Brady couldn't get it done because he's a winner, but the Celtics aren't. I'm going to Golden State. I'm going to go get my championships. And then what? I get to try again. And oh no, now I'm into Celtics green. Like there won't be a player on the team who was homegrown. Even Marcus Smart, who gets this city, is going to be gone, dude. Listen, Kyrie's great. I wouldn't give him up for anything. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to say they're actually better without him because they're not, especially when we know we get into the postseason and somebody's going to hit the big shots. But there's also like this whole thing about just connecting with the club. And you're just going to have a whole bunch of foreigners that just got stockpiled on this team, and they might just not feel like Celtics. They're just showing up, putting on the jersey, going out. They're hired guns. They're going to win the championship. Maybe we get a 3 or 4 year run, but are they going to come into town like when Kevin Garnett shows up? Are they going to have that? Are they going to come into town after they've retired and be like Paul Pierce is right now? I'm sorry, but Kevin Garnett gets a pass. I turned on Ray Allen. I'm just afraid that on some level these three guys could all end up being Ray Allens to me.
Well, I think you're to me that's like step 50. We're on step like 1, 2,
Yeah, but that's
and
how
I
we
know what
get
you're
to
saying.
step 50. That's
Yeah,
how we
but
get to
yeah,
step
but like there's
50.
a lot of things that can happen between now and 8 years down the road when
Do you feel like
Durant's
you
retiring and like
Yeah.
I mean you don't I mean I know what you're saying. There is an emotional investment that we have in these guys that were drafted here, have got improved here, came in under Brad Stevens, became players, right? And to send them away for the latest greatest model doesn't feel great. It doesn't have the same shine, doesn't have the same emotional investment. But let's remember,
I can almost
90%.
tolerate it for one guy, but then to do it for KD on top of that, and I guess the way you're posturing it, right, is we're not really doing anything for KD, right? We're just shipping out Horford or Hayward so that we have the
Yeah.
salary match and maybe a few other things, but that's just like the glaze on a disgusting donut. Like I'm just not sure that I can quite have that icing. And maybe at that point you're just going in. I don't know. I'm
I,
having my reservations. You know what? Real quick. We'll come back to this because this is going to take the rest of the show. I can already feel it.
yeah.
So before we do that, we have to pay homage to our sponsors who are kind enough to put some money behind this diatribe that's going on between us. So betonline.ag, another huge week across the NBA with the All-Star game and the Celtics kind of picking up some slack and 2 games to close it out before the break, much to John and my surprise. So some exciting matchups in the All-Star game, but there's only one place to get in on all this action. BetOnline.ag, sports casino, virtual casino, you name it. BetOnline.ag is CLNS Media's preferred sportsbook online. And if you use the promo code CLNS50, you're going to get a 50% cashback bonus on your first deposit, and that's just for signing up. So, you want to play a game this week? I'll tell you which one. We're picking the Bucks on Thursday. Celtics Bucks, definitely the game of the week for John and I. Pretty exciting. And then only just a few days later, next week they're going to have to play the Raptors. And John, I think you said not long after that we get the rematch against Golden State and the Houston Rockets. So here we are in the midst of it all. Some exciting weeks coming up. This week, you got to put your money on Bucks Celtics. So go online or use your mobile phone to sign up today at betonline.ag and try in-game live betting where you can participate with all the action with every play. And remember, you can go to clnsmedia.com/win to use promo code CLNS50. That gives you a 50% cashback bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
And I think we're judging KD on a decision where he goes to Golden State and thought it was going to be one thing, and clearly it hasn't lived up to what he expected it to be either. I don't want to sit here and kill the guy because he made a good decision to play with a free passing team and all that. I don't want to kill the guy over that because I don't think I know enough about why he's doing that or why he passed up Boston. I think he went to a great team and wanted to win championships. Well, he checked that box. Now what? And I think the
So
next
now he's
decision says more about
LeBron.
KD
So
than the last one.
do you like the way LeBron bounces around? And would you like that if KD did that to Boston? Anthony
Um,
Davis gets injured, things start to get tight on the
yep,
salary, Kyrie, whatever. KD walks. Maybe he only signs a 2-year deal with us in that move. And after 2 years, he's not happy. He's out of town.
yeah,
Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Nobody's loyal in the game anymore. I understand that.
right,
And nobody's had that grenade tossed at them harder than Danny Ainge after the Isaiah Thomas move, right? He's
absolutely.
taken all of that flack for that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, there's something about that just it takes a little bit of the shine off the trophy to me. There's gotta
Yeah,
be somebody here. Like, this is what happened the last time around. They went out and got the hired guns to build around Paul Pierce, right? Paul had been here forever. He had given blood, sweat, and tears. He'd gone through the Antoine Walker era. They'd gotten within a crazy stretch of almost getting to the finals with a team that should never have gotten there. And obviously, the Nets wound up taking them down, but they were that close, felt good, went back into the dumpster. Paul's down and out. And then you go out and get these hired guns, one of which endeared himself to the Boston fan base because of his work ethic and attitude. They ran that. I remember finding out about you. They positioned it perfectly, but he came in, KG owned it. I don't know that Ray ever really owned it, but it didn't matter because Paul Pierce gave you that connection to this roster that made it all okay. If all of a sudden you don't have anybody that was on this club post rebuild that had started to get our interest back in and excitement, and all of a sudden it's just this new conglomeration of hired guns, there's something about that just doesn't feel quite the same. If they could retain even a Tatum or even a Brown, or honestly, the player to retain is Marcus Smart, who's one of the most likely players to get shipped out for salary reasons. But if there was a guy on this club, he was right there at the beginning, drafted early, defensive stalwart, absolute maniac who's finally hitting 3-pointers. You were patiently waiting for this player to mature into that level. He finally does it, and then you ship him out of town. That would be the guy, though. Even if you trade for all these other players, if you just hold on to Marcus Smart, there'd be some semblance of an identity here still. You move all of these guys after you traded Isaiah Thomas for Kyrie, that's just weird. It just feels weird.
I don't I don't think it's that weird personally. I think the whole game has been accumulated assets and try to get the best team possible. And just because they drafted guys, I never felt like well, that means they're going to stay forever. I think it meant, okay, and let's see what happens. And if you have a chance to get arguably the second best player and the fourth best player in the league, and you can give up all of everyone on your team except for the best player on your team, you do it. I don't think
Yeah, no, I understand.
emotionally, yes.
Emotionlessly, you're correct, but that's not how this works from the fans' perspective.
Well, the fans need to, I think, suck it up and get used to, because we all root for the laundry. I mean, we're gonna root for whoever is gonna wear the Celtics uniform by and large. And I was never a Marcus Morris fan. I'm rooting for him now. There is a bit of transactional nature to being a fan of a team. You're largely a fan of who they are. Now, do they need to embody that spirit once they're there? Yes. Can they, come in and show disregard for the history and the people who have put that there? Absolutely not. I mean, that is that's absolutely would put them in a different category, and you would look at it differently. But to me, you can acquire anybody you want to acquire, and if they show deference for what's there and they play with the same spirit and intensity that you saw with the guys that you loved or more, and you're successful, I mean, that's the best of all worlds. I loved Al Jefferson as much as anybody. My God, but the moment you could get Kevin Garnett, I did have to hem and haw over it. I'm not saying it's an easy decision, but we saw right there where, as hard as it
Now,
was to
see,
lose
even
Al,
at
you
that
got
time,
KG,
yeah,
the
at that
player. I didn't know that he
it's
was gonna be
different.
this
It's
emotional
different.
tie. We
It's
didn't know
different.
that. None of us knew that.
Totally different this time
Why?
because we
Because you don't
actually
like
have
KD?
well, partly, yeah, but also even if Katie didn't come, it's still if you trade for Anthony Davis, you're still going to have some pieces left. There's still some of what you've been trying to
Yeah,
build that gets to
yeah,
hang around. I think in the end, to be able to pull both off, you're gutting it. You've got, maybe Semi Ojeleye still hanging around, right? But maybe a Daniel Tice, maybe Morris, unlikely, but maybe Morris signs a 1-year deal to bolster the bench like a James Posey. Who knows exactly, but honestly, it's still different. And I don't think any of us thought, as much as we loved Al Jefferson, I don't think any of us thought that those young players could grow into a team that was going to be able to win a championship. I think we all thought, hey, you know what? This team is going to have to, it's going to have to, the pieces are going to have to be shuffled around for them to get towards a championship after they were 1 game away from the finals last year with an injury riddled season. I don't think that's how people felt about it. Do we know that they were still a couple of pieces away last year? Sure. But don't you think those pieces could have been Kyrie and Hayward? And so that's the reason that the expectations have been all screwy with the fan base on this team this year. And it's also the reason why I feel like it gets a little tainted when I think these pieces are a lot closer with a lot of time left on the clock. So I think you do the AD deal. I think that just the position he plays makes it like nearly impossible to not make that move. But and I guess we'll have to see what the moves are. I mean, if they get
yeah.
Kevin Durant for next to nothing, I mean, how do I argue with it?